Jack Turner was the kind of man people trusted without hesitation. Broad-shouldered and steady-eyed, he had been a firefighter for over 20 years. People in the small town of Greenwood often referred to him as a hero, someone who had faced blazing infernos and brought neighbors' loved ones to safety. He wore his uniform with pride, believing in duty, honor, and the value of protecting his community. But Jack was also human, shaped by his beliefs and experiences, and in recent years, those beliefs had hardened in ways even he didn't fully recognize. On the other side of Greenwood lived Hank Miller, a retired Marine Corps veteran. Hank was quiet and kept mostly to himself. His home, a small, weathered cabin at the edge of town, was filled with memories, medals from his service, photographs of his wife who had passed years ago, and letters from his daughter who lived across the country. Hank had survived battles overseas, but the fight to keep his emotions in check was ongoing. He didn't talk much about his service, except on rare occasions when someone pried and he'd share a story or two. What no one in Greenwood seemed to know was that Hank had saved many lives during his time in the Marines, not just on the battlefield, but also during a catastrophic flood years ago. It was a story he didn't think much about anymore, but one that would come rushing back in ways he could never have imagined. It was an unusually hot day in August when a call came into the fire station. A house was on fire at the edge of town, and the flames were spreading fast. Jack and his team geared up quickly. He glanced at the address and frowned. It was Hank Miller's place. Jack had heard rumors about Hank being a staunch supporter of the MAGA movement. Jack, who had strong political views of his own, felt a flash of anger. In his mind, people like Hank represented everything that was wrong with the country. As the fire truck sped through the streets, Jack's thoughts churned. Why should I risk my life for someone who probably wouldn't lift a finger for me? He muttered under his breath, though no one heard him over the roar of the engine. When they arrived at the scene, smoke was billowing from the windows. Hank was outside, coughing and shouting for help. Jack saw him waving desperately and felt his jaw tighten. Without saying a word, Jack turned to his team. "Contain the fire," he ordered sharply. "But don't risk yourselves for someone who probably thinks we're all expendable." His crew hesitated, unsure if they'd heard him right, but Jack's tone left no room for argument. They focused on controlling the flames, leaving Hank to watch helplessly as his home was consumed. The next day, news of the fire spread through Greenwood. Some praised Jack's decision, agreeing that people like Hank didn't deserve help. Others were horrified, questioning how a firefighter could abandon someone in need. Jack shrugged off the criticism, convinced he had done the right thing. But then something unexpected happened. A reporter from a nearby town had heard about the fire and started digging into Hank's past. A story emerged, one that shook the entire community. Years ago, during a devastating flood in the neighboring county, a Marine had risked his life to save dozens of people trapped in rising waters. That Marine was Hank Miller. Among the lives he saved was a young mother and her 2 children, Jack's wife and kids. Jack had never known who had saved his family that day. His wife had told him about the Marine, but they had never learned his name. Now, faced with the truth, Jack felt his world tilt. He realized that the man he had turned his back on was the same man who had made it possible for his family to still be alive. Unable to sleep, Jack decided he had to make things right. He drove to Hank's cabin, or what was left of it. Hank was sitting on the porch, staring at the charred remains of his home. He didn't look up when Jack approached. "I owe you an apology," Jack began, his voice heavy. Hank finally turned to look at him. His face was tired, his eyes shadowed with loss. "Why? Because you let my house burn down? Or because you think I'm not worth saving?" Jack swallowed hard. "Because I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what you'd done for me and my family." He explained everything: the flood, the rescue, the gratitude he had always felt for the Marine who had saved his loved ones. Hank listened quietly. When Jack finished, he nodded slowly. "I didn't save your family because I knew them. I did it because it was the right thing to do. That's what we're supposed to do for each other, and you let your politics blind you to that. Jack felt the sting of Hank's words, but he knew they were true. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I can't undo what happened, but I want to help you rebuild. It's the least I can do." Hank looked at Jack for a long moment, then nodded. "If you're serious about helping, you can start by remembering that everyone's life has value, even when you don't see eye to eye." Over the following months, Jack worked tirelessly to help Hank rebuild his home. The town came together too, donating supplies and lending hands. For Jack, it was more than just a project. It was a lesson in humility and the importance of looking beyond surface differences. Hank, for his part, didn't dwell on the fire or Jack's initial decision. He focused on moving forward, grateful for the new friendships that had emerged from the ashes. In the end, the fire that had destroyed Hank's home became a spark for something greater, a reminder that compassion and understanding can bridge even the deepest divides. And for Jack, it was a chance to truly live up to the title of hero. That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.